Hey, welcome to Real Talk with Mr. Richard, a video podcast sponsored by 360 Dance Festival. So welcome listeners. We have the pleasure of having Mr. Robert McKee with us today, and he is the artistic director for Inaside Chicago Dance. And we are excited to have him share a little bit of his story and talk to us about what's going on at Inaside. Welcome, Robert.
Hello, thank you so much, Richard, for having me today. What is going on? It is the summer of 2020, and nobody has the answer to that question because everything is going on.
I was like, I'm glad that you just took the bull right by the horns. You was like, you said it's the summer of 2020. I was like, this one will go down in history. This will go down in history. The epic summer of unknown and uncertainty and every front. So that is the best pretty little picture you could have put that in.
Yeah, that was me putting it nicely. I told a friend the other day that it felt like a weird sci-fi movie in which, there was just all these different plot lines happening and no one is really sure with what is happening, what's going on, and when it's going to end.
It is, but do you feel like it's because you are, we're gonna talk on your position as a leader for an entire organization a little bit later on in the conversation. But do you feel as as being in a leadership position, people come to us for answers? Like they're expecting the leader to have some, maybe not answer, maybe answers too sharp, but have some kind of direction for the organization. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not making the decisions for the city or for the government or anything like that, but at least for the organization, you have some degree of vision or direction. And I feel like this particular time that we're living in right now in 2020, that is making it exceptionally hard because how we make decisions is based on other people making decisions, and those decisions aren't being made, which are trickling down to us not being able to make decisions, which essentially in business is affecting our bottom line. Like we can't make any plan towards anything without people that are in more control of time and allowances to make decisions. So, how is that impacting what you are doing as a nonprofit dance organization this summer?
Yeah, I think you brought up a very great topic of we're waiting for one group or organization to make a decision, and then we're waiting on another one to make another decision. And to me, it's just bringing to light the point that we can be collaborating so much more, because as I talk to other leaders, other nonprofits in the city, listen to other Zoom calls of groups in other cities, watch news briefings in other countries, read articles in other countries, it's just really clear that we're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to exist. We're all trying to get our art out there. So collaboration for me is something that is really refreshing. For one, when we talk about new ideas, we generate more ideas. We, figure out ways of doing things that improve the state of the situation that we're in. And everybody needs a coach, is what I always say in dance. Everybody needs a coach. I tell the dancers all the time, you're an amazing dancer, but everybody needs a coach. If you're in the NFL and you are the best quarterback in the world, you still need a coach. You still need that outside eye to help, to fine tune, to tweak things. And so since we're all leaders, if that's the conversation that we want to focus on directly, and we're all the coaches, then the coaches need to come together. Do you know what I mean? Because there's no coach for us. We're the ones in charge. We have to make these decisions. So as the people in charge, I feel like it's a no-brainer to connect with each other and decide, okay, this is what we're going to do. and this is how we're going to do it. What works for you? And I think there used to be a big fear of sharing information and that whole scarcity mindset, but my patrons and my staff is different than your patrons and your staff. And we have two different mission statements, and we're looking at two different sides of the coin. So it's not weird, it's not abnormal, it's not fearful to share information, because we're not going for the same thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Even if this is Nabisco and you're selling crackers, there's room for all sorts of crackers, because, you know, like something as simple as that. And I think we were so caught up in that mindset that we were so separate. And then as we're getting together and we're talking, we realize we are not separate at all. We are all doing the same thing, whether the product is dance or the product is a t-shirt or a, you know, telecommuting, you know, app that we're using. Like we're all trying to do the same thing and figure out how to do well. I don't want to use the word survive. I think we are past survive. At least I hope we are. I would like to be past survive, but to really do well and to really adjust.
Great. That scarcity mindset, that is, you know, you make so many great points that we can absolutely go on almost every one of those points on a different tangent. But when it comes to arts and arts administration, arts leadership, there's no arts leadership that that necessarily exists for the sake of educating yourself, but there's also nothing that immediately with it that I found within the city of Chicago, that there is a leadership organization that is providing the resources to keep everyone on a playing field. Now, it doesn't have to be the same playing field, but a playing field. So, for instance, there the whole COVID-19, we all have dancers, we all rent space, we all are trying to have concerts, we're all trying to have our workshops. These are all things that all of us are doing in our own way, but there was no central location that we could find information on how to conduct all of those things safely, so that we would not have to number one, increase the spread of the virus, but number two, how we can continue to move forward without having to shut down, because those are tremendous sources of revenue for our businesses. So having that central resource for the arts industry would have been hugely beneficial for every arts organization.
It feels like it's one of those trees that's on the property line, and it's like, your part of the tree is on my side of the line. So what are you going to do about it? And as I said before, that's exactly the perspective that we have the opportunity to change. I will put it in those words. So the perspective of, you know, we're all doing these different things. We all come from these different backgrounds and situations. I think there is truth to that, but in the end, like you said, we're all a part of the same tree trunk. We're all trying to provide great dancing and whatever that means for our own individual organization. As you were talking about leadership within the state, the city, I think, yeah, figuring out a way to have a non-biased entity that helps support the growth of the arts in the city as a whole, I think is a great perspective. And it's also a challenge, because, you know, like you said, if you have city arts, or you have DCASE, or you have you know, these different organizations that are technically separate, that this is a perfect opportunity for them to come together and then reach out to everyone under their umbrellas. So if they have different, you know, things going on, fine, they can come together, be the host of conversations like this, so that it can trickle down to everybody else. Because when it is so many people and there's so many things going on, then it really is hard to figure out who is getting the information. The other point that you made, I completely agree with, is as soon as we went into quarantine, I think the shift in our minds should have been, great, how am I making my art work for these people? Great. How am I connecting with these people that are home? Great. These things are coming up. How is what my company does, my organization, those companies going to benefit everyone that is at home and needs an outlet? This is what arts is for. And I talked to someone and I said, even the Netflix logo that you're looking at was created by a graphic designer and artist. So it's really easy for me to see that because I am an artist, but getting the mindset of the consumer to understand that, like, it's in everything we do and everything we are, from the t-shirt, you know, that you're wearing, and somebody specifically chose that shade of shirt with, you know, this much dye and that much dye, and said, ooh, this would be captivating to the eye. So because we all went into survival mode, how we're going to make our companies, you know, exist, how we're going to pay our employees, our viewpoint skewed, and I think that is very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate, and it's really interesting because that's not the point of the nonprofits such as what we do, and, you know, these other arts organizations. The point of what we do is to bring art to people. So that was the perfect opportunity to be able to do that. And since we had to focus on a lot of the other things to survive, to get the paychecks, to do all that stuff for our employees, it made it really hard on us. You know, I feel very conflicted as an artist because I also needed time to go internal and kind of look at the situation like, wow, how do I even feel about my own health and safety, and my health and safety of my friends and my dancers and my family, you know? So that pulls us in many different directions. And my normal answer would be, okay, make art about it. Like, you know, like whatever you're feeling, great, make art about it then. And so, and sometimes I wanted to, and sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I sat on my couch like, what is happening? This is a crazy global thing. Like, what is going on, right? And I didn't feel like making art at that time. That's not how I wanted to respond. And I think all answers and all perspectives are great, because as individuals, especially with something like this that no one saw coming, no one expected or whatever, it kind of throws us through this loop. So that brings me back to my point, full circle, is the collaboration of saying, picking up the phone and saying, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? What are you guys doing? It takes a lot of the weight off. It takes a lot of the pressure off, even if the conversation is, I have no idea, I'm eating ice cream on the couch and I'm crying. You know, like whatever it is, it's fine. So like, let's address it, because once we address it, we work through it, and then we get to the other side eventually, hopefully, you know, sometimes smoother or sometimes faster, whatever that is. But we have to take the time to come together to address these things so that we can make better decisions moving forward for our own individual organizations, and also for the public that we're here to support.
It's, you know, everything is a process. Everything is a process. And I know the artists understand that process more so than your everyday person does. And I think that to your point earlier about the scarcity of information, or the scarcity of audience members, or the scarcity of the funds, that those scarcities are always going to exist. Like this situation just brings a little more light to it. But even if we were not within the pandemic, there would still be a scarcity. It would just be on a different scale. So
sure. And that isn't this opportunity to fix that?
Absolutely. Well, and that is the bigger issue that is coming out on in many other industries as well, is we are seeing that the formula that we've been using is not the best formula. It's not. Even our athletics, you know, that's a huge money generating source for many economies, especially in college towns. The revenue that's generated with athletic attendance in cities like ours, where we have multiple stadiums, you know, the arts, not just the arts, but tourism brings in a tremendous amount of revenue. And I don't think that our government officials looked at it from that perspective, that the revenue that comes in for just the tourism in Chicago is heavily weighted on theater and dance. There's billions of dollars that come in during the summer for theater and dance downtown. And there's even more money that comes in for athletic attendance.
Yeah. And I think it was the Broadway League, I believe, I'm not fully sure on which organization it was that brought up this conversation for New York City as they were planning and thinking about who needs the funds and who needs help. They had mentioned that, I think they said it was about 14 million people that they had come and see their shows in 2019. 14 million people, and that's from all over the world. Like, let's be honest, you know, it has that pull, and it brought in, I believe it was over $1 billion for the year for the local economy. So, you know, I think that's what's interesting about the argument when it's like sports and arts or whatever. And as we've been seeing, there's a place for both because that's the way it has been. There is the scales tipped over a little bit more in the favor of sports because there are more fans. Their season runs a little bit different. You know, there's different levels and layers.
Facilities are bigger. Like their capacity for revenue is just much bigger.
Yeah.
But this is another point that Scott Silverstein had brought up about how the local government does not address the arts per se until you put it in terms like that. That the arts in this city bring in X amount of dollars. That means that there's this much more revenue that comes into our annual budget because of the arts. Now they will pay attention because there's a dollar sign attached to what we do versus, and I don't want to pull that card, but we need to pull that card because that is leverage. We need to use that leverage because we're not getting we're getting overlooked when it comes to the disbursement of funds as far as businesses are concerned, just completely neglecting the fact that we bring in so much money. And a lot of those, the downtown entertainment tax that is attached to what's going on downtown, that money goes somewhere. Now, let's not get crazy. That entertainment tax that only exists in the downtown theater district, that money goes somewhere. Now, if that exists in downtown Chicago, could that not be expanded slightly per performance venue, per performance outlet in other parts of the city, so that revenue that is coming in for those taxes could then be redispersed to more people in different parts of the city, so that say Rogers Park brings in 3% of that tax revenue, can't that 3% of the tax revenue go back to Rogers Park so that it is fostering the arts and humanities in that area of the city? And I just don't think that our government looks at it like that. I don't believe they look at it like that, but I also don't believe we don't have enough people of our industry in positions making that conversation happen, because it's not going to, if it were going to happen, it would have happened, but we need people making that point and making that conversation and making this happen.
You know, that's a really, really fantastic viewpoint of what to do and how to keep it going. What to do, like you said, if there's an amusement tax, which there is, in all these different locations, what happens to that? And then I think the other challenge is that it gets distributed to Chicago as a whole. And I feel, like you said, some of the neighborhoods, and that's one of the beautiful things about Chicago is all these different neighborhoods. So you're able to provide more art to that specific community and to give, into that more and to share that, or with neighboring communities. I feel like clearly it creates a little bit of a divide, which we would want to, kind of help, because, for example, if it was Rogers Park and they had a lot of theater because the education of the residents in that community support that, but then, the next neighboring area didn't get that as much, then you have these disparities towards areas. So I feel like there are ways to connect the money back into the community to support the art so that it can keep going. So that, for example, situations that we're in right now, the pandemic comes and everyone knows what's going on, and they say, okay, well, we already have this amusement tax fund that we've been sitting on, so let's divvy this money up so you can pay your staff for 3 months salary while we figure this out. And I think it's just some ingenuity on all of our parts that can make this so much better, because once everything happened, we were all globally, we're all in the same position. Is what are we going to do? What are the industries that are essential, non-essential? And what I do like is that we are looking at other industries and saying, this might not be essential. Sure, you're not like the electric company, right? But like, boy, do I miss the social components of going to a restaurant and supporting those people that are without money right away. I know I talked to a friend the other day that hasn't received anything. It is July and have been struggling to try to figure out, what to file, how to file, because their info was based on their gig work, and their gig work was so consistent, and it was going to a lot of bars that they got hired from, that they just really didn't have to think about how it breaks down in taxes and all those other things, because their other source of income was from performance, from with the dance company. We have people in these situations. We have restaurant workers and bartenders in these situations where they cannot make any sort of income right now. And we've been able to look at that and say, wow, we're really not helping these other industries, just like dance. We need to think of better ways to help these industries survive, and to not only just survive, but to do well and get the, the health insurance and get the this and the that and all the things that we all should have.
You are, in the words of other leaders that have helped me in situations like this, your brain is already ahead of where it needs to be, because you're looking beyond right now, and you're looking beyond the end of the year. You're looking beyond 3 years from now into facilitating programs and services that will benefit the community at large for a long time. So having your mindset there, congratulations, that, which is another reason why I wanted to have you on, because you are a global thinker when it comes to your industry. You're not thinking about just what I do right here at Inaside. You are thinking about what impact it has, not only on Inaside, but how does the ripple effect happen from what you're doing at Inaside, and how can we start bringing more people into the circle? Because we need the collaboration, not only for the different areas of expertise that people are bringing in, but we need the circle to get larger, because as that circle gets larger, the opportunity for collaboration then gets greater on a different level that then benefits more things. It's an unlimited supply of what can happen when like minds come together.
Well, and it's like in social media when you tag someone, it's just simple as that. It's like, you're tagging me on this post, and then my people are going to see it, and that expands the whole thing, and then we all learn something, or we all grow, or we all get this information. So it's in the arts and in the business, why don't we think of things as simple as what the young people are doing with TikTok? I think what I see in TikTok is the fact that people love dance and people love to move, and so how do we translate into, great, you're a natural mover, or you're a natural choreographer. How do we help you make that into something, and not just a quick viral sensation? You made up this one dance at this one time. It was really cool for this moment in your life, and now that's over because the next thing is up. It's like, what if these people have a general interest in the field and in the arts? How do we leverage these things? How do we educate them? How do we help them? How do we use that as a platform to say, making up a dance is a skill. And I didn't realize it was such an interesting skill until someone asked me, you mean you just create pictures of movement and music and lights and costume in your own head? And I was, yeah, definitely. And they said, don't you think that's kind of like really interesting and really incredible? And it's like, yeah, that really is. But that's what happens in any form in which you have to use your imagination. And that's why I'm saying art is everywhere, is because the person that invented the name anything in the world, they used their imagination to create something. Yes, it was a product, and yes, ours is movement. So why is that so, why do we put that in the category of good or bad or more or less? Because I don't think it is more or less. It's just using your brain and using your skill sets in a different way. Yes, we're creating movement. Yes, we're thinking of costumes. Yes, we're seeing lights, and we're going through that same place. But that doesn't mean the value is less than it is for someone that created something else. Obviously, there are people that create life-saving things. So clearly that is a value. Do you know what I mean? But like, it still takes skill, and we can still appreciate the people that are creating good dance and creating new business models and creating, ways of adapting and using the global concept, which we're clearly learning right now, is, using this global concept and this global structure is going to help everyone who's an artist or everyone who is in a non-traditional field of work.
Listeners, you can come out and see Inaside Chicago Dance perform live at the Athenaeum Theatre on July 24th. There are 2 shows, a 5 p.m. show and an 8 p.m. show. Both shows will have no intermission, and the box office will be social distancing the tickets as well. Remember to click the like button. Until next time, this is Real Talk with Mr. Richard, sponsored by 360 Dance Festival.